on a distant asteroid named Selden, with a population of 250,000. An outstanding scientist named John fathered a special child. The couple was ecstatic about their baby. Meanwhile, the cruelest and most ruthless ruler of the planet had approached them in a spaceship. The wife, panicking, suggested hiding the child, but the scientist was certain they would be found regardless. In short, the only way to save the baby from the tyrant's grasp was to send him to another planet in another galaxy. Soon, the spaceship docked with their tower. John quickly identified a suitable planet and discovered its most advanced region, the United States. He input the coordinates into the autopilot system. The couple launched the escape pod toward Earth. At that moment, the army led by the evil dictator, seated in a flying egg-shaped chair, revolted in the lab. The tyrant interrogated the scientist about the child's whereabouts, claiming the infant was property of his empire. The scientist refused to reveal the rescue pod's destination. Then the villain's daughter, Agatha, offered to help. Despite her father opposing her due to her gentle nature, Agatha used her telepathic abilities to read the scientist's mind and declared the baby had been sent to Earth. The tyrant told his daughter that if she wanted to earn his respect, she must find the infant, and then he would bring her back to Selden. Agatha jumped into another escape pod to ensure she could complete the mission swiftly. She nearly caught up to the baby in Earth's orbit, but the infant's spacecraft collided with a satellite, altering its course. Agatha landed in the United States, while the baby's pod flew toward Spain. Meanwhile, in Spain, an ordinary mechanic and owner of an auto repair shop was driving home with his wife when the baby's escape pod soared past them, nearly crashing into their car. They cautiously approached the crash site and discovered the bearded infant. The woman said she had prayed to God for a child, so she insisted on taking him in. They brought the baby and his spacecraft home. The man tried shaving the baby's beard, but it grew back in 2 seconds. The couple named him López. The pediatrician said the baby was perfectly healthy, except for the beard. However, López continuously demonstrated his superpowers, scaring away customers from his adoptive father's workshop. At school, he used his supervision to cheat on exams, and occasionally burned classmates' test papers with his laser eyes. Other children found López weird and often bullied him. One day, López played soccer as the goalkeeper, unsure who to pass the ball to. He decided to score himself, outpacing all players like the Flash, and kick the ball into the goal, along with the goalkeeper. His teammates, however, did not appreciate López's stunt. His father told him he couldn't show his abilities to people. On his birthday, López waited for invited friends, who never showed up for the celebration. Because of his powers, he realized no one wanted to befriend him. His parents explained that this was Spain. He needed to act like a normal person. In any other country, they'd think he was cool, but here, everyone saw him as an outcast. His parents congratulated him on turning 10. His mother brought López a cake and told him to make a wish. The boy longed to be ordinary, then blew out the candles and ate the cake. Fast forward 20 years later, López received a call from his boss, Jaime, who claimed he hadn't seen López at work that day. López lied, saying he'd just gone to the restroom. Jaime said he'd visit him immediately. López used his superpowers to instantly prepare for work, and barely made it to the workplace. In front of his boss, López pretended to be busy, but Jaime was happy to chat. López noticed Jaime's new cologne and asked about the occasion. Jaime confessed it was all for a girl. He'd granted her an interview at Today's News, just to ask her out. López said he shouldn't exploit his position for personal life. Jaime asked López to devise a plan for a welcome party for new employees, and to attend it, since a gathering with only 2 people would look suspicious. López said the company didn't have a tradition of throwing welcome parties for new employees, and refused to participate. Then he said he needed to grab some breakfast. López was dealing with a vending machine, which failed to give him snacks. He heard a call coming through the front desk intercom. Using his supervision, he noticed his college classmate named Luisa. So that's it. She was the girl his friend had been trying to impress. She immediately recognized López and genuinely felt happy for him. She joked that he was a receptionist now. Luisa mentioned she had to go through an interview with Jaime to land this job. López realized his friend sometimes abused those interviews. He was glad the new employee was actually Luisa. He changed his mind and lied to her, saying the company did have a traditional welcome party for new hires, and Jaime would be attending too. López, Luisa, and 2 janitors were invited, just for appearances. Jaime kept flirting with Luisa, but she didn't like it. She then went to another room. Jaime immediately started asking questions. López described how he knew Luisa and whether he liked her. The janitors begged Jaime to let them go home, but the boss wouldn't budge. He then showed them a robot vacuum cleaner from Chit Technologies stating, "This machine is more loyal to the company than both of you combined." Using his supervision and super hearing, López saw and heard Luisa. She was on the phone with her friend, complaining about her boss flirting with her. She planned to leave the party. Come to think of it, she only came because she liked López. This motivated López. Luisa made up an excuse to leave. López immediately chased after her. He couldn't find her on the platform. He got angry, but then she called him from the other side. He suggested going to a pizza place, and she agreed. But her train arrived. López assured her he'd catch her train. When she entered, López was already inside waiting for her, asking what kind of pizza she liked. At the pizza place, they reminisced about college days, talking and eating pizza. It was clear they liked each other. Then, they were interrupted by a group of noisy teenagers, hurling insults at each other. Luisa wanted to go somewhere else, but López suggested finishing their meal first. Then Luisa turned around and told the youngsters to quiet down, only to be mocked by them. Luisa started dealing with the hooligans, spanking one of them with her bag, and saying she'd teach him a lesson if he kept acting that way. The gang turned their attention to López, but he didn't want to deal with minors. Then one of the ringleaders said he could knock López down with one finger. López doubted it, but eventually, the teen actually knocked López to the ground. Later, López sat on the subway. He recalled his father's words in this country, "You couldn't stand out or show your abilities." Suddenly, he noticed the countdown timer for the next train's arrival. It was counting down. He prematurely abused his extrasensory abilities. López heard the train driver's voice, pleading with the dispatcher for help, because the brakes had failed. The train roared past at shocking speed without stopping. López's gaze fell on a poster for Chit Technologies, stating it was time to take action. He ran to the next station and tried to stop the train, but failed. López rushed to the end of the platform and pulled up a fire hose as a barrier. This time, he successfully stopped the train, even set up in the opposite direction. He took a hat from a passerby to cover his face and hurried out of the subway station. The security cameras belonged to the same chip technology company, so the superhero managed to evade them, hiding his face. Meanwhile, in the United States, the tyrant's daughter, Agatha, had become an influential businesswoman and founder of Chit Technologies. She showcased her latest invention, a robot cleaner. Her assistant told her they discovered a superhero who could read employees' minds, but their cameras hadn't captured the hero's face. She planned to search for him herself. By the way, all her company's employees were clones. The next day, news about the superhero spread throughout Spain. At work, everyone was talking about the mysterious savior, but Luisa thought it was all an act, likely part of some marketing campaign. She found the idea of a Spanish superhero tacky. López tried to defend the superhero's image. During their conversation, Luisa hinted to López that she was ready to go on a date with him today. This clearly cheered him up. However, Jaime interrupted them to announce news about the billionaire Agatha. Agatha was coming to their city. Agatha told reporters she wanted to meet the superhero. She spoke directly to him through the screen, suggesting a collaboration. Luisa was now convinced that the superhero news was just Agatha's publicity stunt. Agatha called her father, who didn't recognize his own daughter at first. To be frank, he didn't care about her at all. The blonde said she'd found her target. Her father laughed at her. She said it had taken her 30 years. Anyone else would have done the same. She'd already flattened Earth, only to return with the child 2 days later. He declared that if the superhero wasn't by her side when he arrived, he'd flatten the entire planet. Along with Agatha, López took public transportation to his date with Luisa. She said she'd been waiting for him at the restaurant for half an hour. López promised to arrive in 3 minutes. Then, in his mind, a loud explosion, because Agatha was trying to contact him using special sound waves. Only López could hear her voice. It caused him intense pain. Agatha told him to come to her office. She'd explain everything there. To ease the pain, López went to her office. Agatha told him part of the truth. They were both from another planet. They'd landed on Earth as infants. She tried to persuade him to join her, return to Selden, and use their powers to rule it. However, López didn't believe her, and assured her he wasn't the mysterious savior. From the subway station, López tried to leave, but Agatha still managed to sway him. He found his mind filled with thoughts of Luisa, The businesswoman ordered her clones to grab Agatha. He fought them off, then quickly dealt with the reinforcements. The mustached man left but forgot his coat. Agatha found Luisa's business card in the pocket. She ordered her clones to obtain a DNA sample from Luisa. Meanwhile, the vacuum robot from Chit Technology activated. For an unplanned cleaning, it scanned the lipstick print Agatha left on a glass and somehow extracted her DNA sequence from it. Then, it connected to a computer and sent the code to Agatha. Jaime noticed this and tried to power off the robot, but it attacked him. He ordered the janitors to handle the machine. They gladly destroyed their electric rival. Jaime brought the broken robot to Luisa, warning her it had sent her DNA somewhere. Since she wasn't answering her phone, he left her a voice message. Meanwhile, Lopez arrived at Luisa's door. She appeared behind him, holding an almost empty bottle of wine. She was angry that the mustached guy hadn't shown up and demanded Lopez tell her straight if he didn't like her. Lopez confessed his interest in her and assured her the situation was serious. Something was preventing them from meeting. After hearing this, Luisa, drunk, intended to take him to her place, but Lopez couldn't bring himself to take advantage of her, spend the night with her while she was drunk, because that would be a despicable trick. The girl called him a coward to provoke him, trying to get him to kiss her.
Vete con tus padres para que te pongan un colacao. ¿Pero qué más hace falta para que me metas un morreo? ¡Crío! ¡Eres un crío! ¡Vuelve a párvulos! ¡Cobarde!
Jaime accidentally witnessed all this. He felt betrayed by his best friend. Lopez intended to leave when a Chit Technology van appeared behind him. Agatha read his mind. She realized he liked Luisa too. She promised him a brand new Luisa if he helped her. A mechanical clone of Luisa was already sitting inside the van. Lopez returned to his parents, wanting to learn the truth about his origins. The couple did everything to hide it. They insisted they were his real parents, but eventually, Lopez uncovered the secret they'd been hiding. They took him to the spaceship he'd arrived in, where it had landed on Earth. Lopez activated a holographic message from his biological father. The man said that if Lopez was seeing this message, conditions on their home planet were worsening. Lopez was supposed to receive this message at age 3, so his father used a doll to explain Chit, a planet ruled by a brutal tyrant. Lopez was their only weapon against him. He pleaded with his son to go to Chit and save the planet. When he grew older, his mother found a cloth with the letter S on it. On Lopez's ship, the superhero wasn't enthusiastic about flying to another galaxy, but his parents insisted. Fulfilling his mission was his honor. The lady made a superhero costume from fabric they'd found. Lopez looked amazing in it. They remembered the man from the rocket, who said Lopez should be able to fly. The three of them went to check this out. However, Lopez embarrassingly fell, face first from a 3-story building. He went for a dejected walk outside. Kids on bicycles started laughing at his appearance. One kid flipped him off. When Lopez responded with a finger gesture, he discovered it made him soar through the sky. The frightened kids scattered. Lopez accidentally flew to another town. He leaped between cities.
¿Sabe dónde estoy? En la cala de mármoles. ¿Dónde?
Until he finally mastered flying and returned home. His mom helped him try on the costume under regular clothes. His dad instructed him on how to properly tear his clothes in case Lopez was in danger. At that moment, Luisa knocked on the door. She quickly approached Lopez and hugged him. Then she said she knew everything that had happened because Jaime had told her. They went upstairs to talk about it. Luisa tried to justify Agatha's actions in front of Lopez and convince him to cooperate with her. Of course, this wasn't the real Luisa, just a cyborg clone controlled by Agatha. Lopez wanted to talk about last night and the kiss, but Agatha had no idea what happened that night or what to say. Then Jaime took control of the cyborg and started describing how disgusting Lopez's kiss was. and how he'd betrayed his friend. López admitted it was indeed a despicable move he'd made. He was ready to give up Luisa for his only friend, the person he valued most. This moved Jaime to tears. Agatha regained control and defeated López. López, like a true superhero, tried to tear off his everyday clothes, but he wasn't very successful. So his parents helped him. A battle broke out between the cyborgs. And López's mother joined the fight too. But when Luisa was about to throw a punch, López knocked her head off with one blow. Seeing what Agatha had done, Jaime realized he'd been wrong in how he'd treated her before. He tried to take back his words, but Agatha read his mind and learned he planned to warn his friend. She intended to kidnap the real Luisa. Meanwhile, the parents told López that because the real Luisa was now in danger, his mother urged him to save the girl. López learned over the phone that she was walking near the arch and urgently flew to the scene. He tried to tell her everything about his superpowers and the true nature of Agatha Muller. She, of course, didn't believe him and demanded he fly over the arch to prove it. But he was interrupted by local people dressed in various costumes, who mistook him for a rival. They intended to beat him up. Just then, Luisa was kidnapped by Agatha's henchmen. The billionaire contacted López again, emitting a special sound only he could hear. She ordered him to come to her tower. If López wanted to save Luisa, he writhed in pain from the sound. López accidentally scattered all the costumed characters. López went to Agatha's tower. Upstairs, he found Jaime and Luisa tied up. Luisa still didn't believe he was a superhero, even though Jaime confirmed López's words. Following Jaime's advice, López used his supervision to prove his words to Luisa. He described her underwear and the girl's tattoo in a private area. This undoubtedly proved his abilities. At that moment, Agatha activated her special sound, causing him immense pain. López tried to pull himself together, but motivational speeches didn't work on him. Then, by accident, they discovered he was actually motivated by insults. So they started mocking the superhero. Meanwhile, the tyrant from Chit arrived on Earth. Agatha admitted she was glad to see her father, but he contemptuously ordered her to take him to the superhero.
¿Sabes dónde está Andrómeda? Muy bien, pues mucho más allá de Andrómeda, se van a reír.
Under the insults, López managed to gather his strength, and then flew out of the tower with his friends. Agatha took her father to an empty room. He started scolding her, saying she'd disgraced the family. She tried to convince him that the entire planet was under her control, thanks to the technology she'd implemented in every device. However, the man continued to humiliate her, comparing her unfavorably to others, who had more successful relatives. He confessed that, as a daughter, he was ashamed of her. Agatha couldn't take it anymore. She unplugged her artificial respirator. Then she read her dying father's thoughts. He admitted that after this act, he was proud of her. With a sense of relief, she threw her father out of the tower, and she took his place. López took his friends to his parents' house. He tried to burn his costume, but the fabric wouldn't catch fire. The mustached man confessed that after saving the train, his life had started going downhill. He wanted to quit being a superhero, so Agatha couldn't find him. However, at that very moment, a spaceship landed, and Agatha emerged from it. López shouted at her again, saying he wouldn't go to another galaxy. The villain responded that she was going to destroy this planet. She pressed the red button, and her egg-shaped chair transformed into a giant robot. López quickly rescued the costume from the fire. He put it on, and his father tried to help him.
¡Fuera! ¡Fuera! ¡Mira! ¿Qué pasa? Os pongáis como os pongáis en mi hijo. ¡Escopeta! ¡Tengo todo controlado!
But Agatha sucked the man in with the robot's arm, which had a built-in giant vacuum cleaner. The kids, who seemed to be the same ones who had mocked López before, started recording the battle with their phones. Agatha spun the superhero around and then threw him out. López landed in an ongoing football match.
Una persona en el área, pero no es un jugador, es un espontáneo. Se queda tendido en el crédito. Todo controlado. Bueno, todo el mundo parado, están alucinando. Este tío que lo saquen del campo.
Que lo echen del campo, por favor. Hostia, nos va a joder la final,
Cabeza, te lo digo en serio. a la red. Pero bueno, por favor, que alguien se lleve a este tío.
He grabbed the goal net and returned to the battlefield. He saw Agatha chasing his mother and wanted to help, but he was clumsy and accidentally threw the net over his mother. The robot started trampling López. Jaime tried to distract her, so Agatha pulled him in too. The villain was about to cut the superhero in half with a circular saw. When Luisa arrived in a Spanish Cybertruck, she started insulting López to boost his strength, sitting inside the robot. Jaime also joined in the insults. López came to his senses and tore off the robot's arm. Luisa drove the car, following the robot, and then shouted for López to perform that trick again, the one the teenagers did in the pizza place. López froze the visor with his icy breath. He pushed the robot back with his middle finger. The villain fell into the pool. Everyone managed to get out of the water. López and Luisa were about to kiss again, but his mother interrupted them and asked about his home planet, because they were counting on their superhero. López claimed he already had a plan. The tyrant's ship returned to Chit, with Agatha tied up on board. All the residents welcomed the hero with great joy, only to find out he was the one dressed as a cartoon character that they'd seen near the arch. The scientist's wife asked the imposter to kiss her, and he did so in a rather passionate way. Later, on Earth, Luisa was woken up by an alarm clock. Next to her was López, who was getting ready to patrol the city. He flew over picturesque parts of Spain with a proud expression. In the background, we heard the results of a survey about the superhero. Regarding the appearance of the Spanish superhero, most people thought it was a nuisance. The majority of those surveyed complained that he only brought trouble. Later, López hurried into the same pizza place for lunch. The girl, Luisa, expressed her dissatisfaction that his job was affecting their relationship. When they finally reached a compromise, López asked for the bill, but the waiter said the man at the bar had already paid for it. The hooded stranger at the bar turned towards them and called out to the superhero López, hinting that he knew his true identity. The bald man sucked on a pacifier and disappeared, indicating that López wasn't the only one with superpowers on this planet.